Hello, class. It's November 3rd. It's Tuesday, and we're on week 10. And I'm making a short video to share with you as you're working independently. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, what we're going to continue to do is work on our independent projects. And I just wanted to give you just a little bit of briefing on the next steps. We each spoke, or most of us spoke yesterday in our small group meetings, and I gave you some specific feedback on where to move forward on each of your projects. Everyone should generally be at the phase now where they've explored how they could take their issue, their social topic, and use branding to create an innovative and new kind of solution or a help towards that solution, whether it's an awareness or fundraising or all the above. And you've created a general overall strategy and plan for how to do that, with the idea being that we're kind of mapping out what's possible with your concept and what's possible through branding. Last week, we talked about different models of how to do that, whether you start as a brand that's about advocating for your issue, or whether you start as a brand that's about a product or service that then supports your issue, or somewhere in between. This is what we're going towards this week in terms of beginning to specify what that is. So a lot of good names are out there and a lot of name choices have been made. You should be finalizing that. We can talk tomorrow if you're still not sure, and in our independent meetings and get that worked out. And once you have your name worked out and your overall strategy, also make sure you're identifying your target audiences. Some of you did that and some of you didn't do that. So make sure that's there, and that you have kind of an overall brand statement of what you are. Again, think of it as like you're pitching an idea about what a brand could be, and that you need to kind of put in all the pillars and make sure you lay the foundation and set up what this vision is for your brand, in order then to be able to build on that in the form of a branding logo concept. So once you do that, I want you to create design layouts for a brand logo, and to do that in the same way that we did in our rebranding project, where we utilized the idea of creating concepts for what a design concept for a direction that you propose, to write that concept out in words, to create a visual mood board that shows the kind of design inspiration that you want to utilize within your application, and then to showcase some design options. And I'm going to ask everyone to do 2 to 3 concepts, and within each concept to do a few or several, however many iterations, so that we're able to have kind of a conversation about that next week. And I'm going to show you a case study coming up here soon that will illustrate how that works and give everyone a reminder of how we worked last time and how effective that was. Again, it's going to be about like taking our time, creating the right messages, creating the right foundation, and not rushing ahead to create a logo. And the logo we're creating doesn't necessarily have to be something super complex, or don't assume that you're pinning a lot of responsibility on the logo. Obviously, it's the flagship of your brand identity, but know that it doesn't do all the work, that the words you chose, the letters that you formed together that say what your brand is about is part of it, the kinds of support you give within the other aspects of your brand identity, and the way it's implemented within your touch points that will help build your message, and that a brand logo needs to stay simple, clear, and effective. So it's about finding that good balance between simple and communicative. But before we get into that, just a reminder that we are back on workshops for our second week. And that last week, we had a set of lectures and an exercise. This week it's motion. I've emailed everyone earlier today with the links to this, but also last week I saw on the Miro board that maybe a third or even maybe a half have done this, so I might be a little bit tricky to get back in the habit, but we do need to be working on viewing our workshop lectures and then doing each exercise and making sure that I can give you the points for that. So please do this week's exercises or exercise and lectures by Monday, and digital design systems needs to be done this week. So please do that. And another reminder is that I do want everyone to be posting the work they do each week into each of the project folders that I create with the links that I provide on Canvas on the class Google Drive. And you can see here, I've just made one for independent project part 4. We're on part 4 this week. Part 3 is last week, and I show here that we only have not even half the classes posted from yesterday. So please do that. I will be going through this at the end of the project as part of the evaluation process in terms of looking into how you followed through on the assignments and the objectives of the assignments, and using this as a guidepost for how to give you points. So I want everyone to have all their decks each week up here so that you get all the points for this, and that your overall project evaluation grade is not affected because you didn't put all the hard work you did up on the Google Drive. So please do that, and I will continue to remind you, but I'd like to see that done each week. And it's not that it has to be the perfect complete deck. It should just be kind of honestly where you're at. But the more put together it is, the better, of course. You don't want to end up becoming an example of what not to do in future classes now, do you? Okay, so let's jump into looking at a case study, a project that I worked on with my design firm Toda, and looking at more from kind of a social responsibility lens, and looking at how to utilize professional design services to kind of achieve the same effect that each of you are doing now, to make change in the world, and to make change in at kind of a local level in a global way. And this project, which I'll say Chipatala Chapafoni, which is from the country of Malawi. And this is a project that I was connected with through the work I've done with Johnson & Johnson. And Johnson & Johnson has a sector that works specifically on creating connections within global communities that are in need of healthcare related services or communication design related healthcare services, and provides grants to specific areas or specific communities or the projects they have in order to create improvement and kind of live up to their healthcare commitment to improve the world through better lives through healthcare. So this project was an effort to create a brand identity for an organization, a NGO, non-government organization that is currently and has been in the country of Malawi, which Malawi is a small country in kind of southeastern Africa. And CCPF is this organization. Chipatala Chapafoni basically means healthcare by phone. And this is a program that was created by this independent organization that utilized this idea of telehealth, which has been, since the pandemic, has gotten a lot of attention and has really been brought to the forefront as a way of getting health services here in the US. And that's been great to improve our lives. But in a country like Malawi, which is very much a third world country and doesn't have the same kind of infrastructure and amenities that we have, this idea of healthcare by phone is super important, because we're talking about communities of families that don't drive, that don't have the kind of healthcare services that are easily made available and typically require a day-long walk, or maybe not that long, but long walks to get to a very basic and I'll say substandard facility, and doesn't really provide optimal kind of use of time and effectiveness. And this organization realized that by having a hotline where Malawians could use their the ones who have mobile phones, or kind of use it in a sort of shared community way, use a mobile phone to call in and be able to get health services. And it's kind of targeted specifically towards prenatal care, or for women who are pregnant or who have recently had babies, kind of around that whole idea of giving birth and following through on the healthcare process within pregnancy, and helping to keep that process healthy and to keep infant mortality rates at a good level, that to avoid unnecessary preventable problems from happening. So this deck is, I think, kind of within the middle of the process. There was presentations we made earlier. We had a workshop literally in Malawi, Africa, and I had the opportunity to go there and learn firsthand about their community there and the program, and meet with people, and really do kind of the proper research needed to fully immerse myself and my team into what was needed to understand the needs of this community and provide a solution that connects with them. So within this deck, I'm showing this to you not only as a way to kind of connect the idea of social good with design, but also to showcase how you can be thinking about your projects and reflecting back some of the things we've talked about in terms of effectiveness of presentation and ability to tell a story about an issue and then create a design solution for it. So I've taken out many pages actually and just kind of shown some key pages. But here I'm showing this idea of reflecting back sort of the scope of the issue, and even the condition of a country at large, and to be able to provide sort of in a smart, compact way information through these kind of infographics that talk about the population of the country, the general health situation in terms of infant mortality rates, or statistics on pregnant women, or even the sort of infrastructure about mobile phone ownership and usage. And you can see here that it's only 38% of the people in Malawi own a phone. But as I was alluding to earlier, it also isn't about everyone having one, but more kind of in the old way where we had phones in our house and we all shared a phone or two in a single house. So it's kind of that way right now. And these phones, as you can see, this icon or this infographic of a phone is not mistakenly outdated. It's purposefully this sort of post 15-year-old kind of phone, pre-smartphone, which is at the time in I think 2017, the kind of phones that were pervasive. There weren't smartphones in Malawi. There were these kind of regular simple touch button phones, which is of course part of the issue that we had to understand in terms of what we were working towards in a brand identity. And again, as I said, we actually had a chance to go there and make kind of a report of what we found and be able to speak about and reflect on what the needs were and what the condition was. And, to kind of gain these insights by talking to these key stakeholders, whether it was government officials and or whether it was members of the community or even people who man the phones for CCPF, or the Ministry of Health offices, and even meeting. And here you see myself, and those of you some of you know Amy, who was one of our guest critique judges. She was part of the team, and this guy is a chief from one of the local tribes, He gave me his business card, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, and I think the thing I didn't say that I want to clarify right now is that the idea was that this small organization was sort of set up in a province or like a state of the country, and had received a lot of success, and it was working really well. And the government recognized this, and they wanted to create a national version of this, a national program that utilized, that made CCPF kind of this government service that throughout the country of Malawi would allow families, women, individuals, anybody to be able to utilize a hotline, this telehealth idea. So our goal was to kind of, it's a rebrand, but you can kind of see here this brick wall kind of shows what, they didn't really have a logo. I mean, they had some graphics, but so it's a rebrand, but in a way it was just kind of branding in general. But getting a full understanding of not just that aspect of it, but how the community worked by, you can see it by sitting down and meeting with them or interviewing people and being able to get really hands-on information about what we needed to know to be able to work effectively. And when doing that, it's about kind of coming back with key findings or with anecdotes of what we learned and what, try to create building blocks so that we have a full understanding. And for those who couldn't come, who worked on this, to be able to have them understand that, and to also be able to justify the directions we take the brand in based on really hearing from the people there. And then taking those ideas and trying to get a clear picture of what the values are of the brand, and just, listing out keywords through the sort of workshop exercise, and looking at what attributes kind of are the DNA of the brand, and how do we make sure we find the ones that are the strongest? How do we organize them in a way that leads us towards a concept? And this exercise here is also this idea of getting feedback from them in terms of who they thought CCPF was. And this was a result of looking at getting this perspective from lots of people. And then also to clarify this into kind of like key insights of what we're trying to communicate. Like the idea that it's a free program, and it's about having access through mobile phones, and that it provides healthcare information for the entire family, regardless of age and gender, and creating this clear messaging for the brand. And then with the research aspect of it, it's about kind of then consolidating it into a design framework and building on the idea of what makes a brand, what's the DNA of a brand, and looking at aspects of a brand. And this is more complicated than what you need to do necessarily for your work, but this is sort of like the full immersion of how to really define the values and attributes of a brand by looking at the heritage, looking at the brand belief, its vision, its positioning. Brand personality is something we've talked about in class here. And then also looking at what's the brand connection. And then, oops, I went the wrong way. And then looking at our target audience. And I wanted to show this page to kind of make sure that each of you are kind of going beyond listing just a certain type of person and then having a few pictures. I think it'd be valuable for each of you to look at combining, well, first look at really being specific about who you're trying to target. And if there are subsectors like we show here, where we have teenagers, elder women, healthcare professionals, women, the Ministry of Health officials, hotline workers, men, elderly men, moms and families, village chiefs, like to specifically list those and show those, and then to kind of label them in terms of what it is that we're trying to communicate toward those specific targets. So whether it's a feeling of proactivity or empowerment, or it's a forward-thinking mood or practicalness. If it's about connecting with those who are seeking information, having these words, I think, along with your curated imagery is important. So I want to make sure that we don't take for granted this target audience exercise within your branding, and that you have this in a clear way, because when you present it and when you're showcasing it to in your final presentation to the outside critic, that they're going to be able to get a picture of what you're trying to accomplish, and it can help them best understand how effective your solution is, and for you to be able to tailor your solution better by you having that understanding. And then also trying to think about, like, how will the brand, and in your case, kind of almost a campaign, be implemented? What are the touch points? Where is it going to be seen? And I didn't say this as one of the things you need to do, but creating a mood board for that isn't a bad idea. And this is kind of what we do here. The objective here is really to show that there isn't a huge landscape of opportunity for visual experiences to happen, and that the phones weren't smartphones, so that it wasn't about visualizing things on the phone. It wasn't about getting a lot of sophisticated media. You have a person with a handheld radio there. There were some ads maybe in places, but they were rare, and that it was the communication kind of didn't go very deep in terms of what we're used to here in the U.S. So again, going back to the idea of organizing attributes and be able to take the idea of having a vision for a brand, identifying the kind of touch points that you want, the kind of feelings you want to evoke with your brand, the kind of values you want the people who follow your brand or participate in your brand, who sign up for your cause, to organize those in a way where you have these emotional touch points that are surrounded by these attributes, and then you can take those attributes, and these attributes of the small circles, which were the circles around this emotional touch point. And from there, you can kind of organize them in a way where you end up being able to come up with these kind of, like, we came up with these 3 different directions: knowledgeable as a direction, clarity as a direction, and confident in this direction. And that's how we created the concepts for how to design the logo. So just kind of in summary, it's about, like, looking at who the target audience is, creating these touch points from attributes of what you aspire towards, or what you want to reflect, or what already exists in this case, and then putting those together into design themes that then can inform what the brand is. So the first one, knowledgeable. I asked each of you to create this kind of concept and to be able to back it up with text and be able to kind of define it in simple words. And this kind of showcased the idea that knowledgeable connects to the desire for salient information, and the idea of sharing those details in a safe and nurturing manner. And that knowledgeable embodies a sense of mentorship through positive relationships based on the kindness and concern of others. So taking that idea of knowledgeable as our sort of our design framework, and looking at what does knowledgeable look in terms of graphic expressions, and putting together what will be like very direct influences towards what we want to do. So whether it's looking at corporate existing or classic corporate logos in this case, or just looking at kind of graphic techniques to say, here's how we can speak to people in a way that utilizes this kind of icon language that's universal, that doesn't require words, that has a direct message that can be deciphered and understood quickly, and looking at typography and color, and then using that to inform how we begin to talk about CCPF as a brand identity, as a logo, and creating some concepts that reflect the mood board, and reflect pretty much what we want to be able to say, which is that in the country of Malawi, healthcare is available by phone, and that you as a family can connect to this healthcare through your smartphone through CCPF. So really, this is not what I think I learned a lot in this process. Was it wasn't about what's the coolest or what I personally think looks the best or connects with me, with my aesthetics. It had absolutely nothing to do with me, and had everything to do with being in someone else's shoes, or lack of shoes in this case, and being in an empathetic mindset where I needed to completely divorce myself from what I would want to see in this. And I'm not apologizing for for these logos at all, but it is really about making sure that the job is being done for those who need to understand this, and that it's nothing but that, and to do it in an effective way and in a way that's aesthetically well done. And but it really had to be based on someone else's eyes. Clarity is our second concept. So having a sense of clarity counters the underlying anxiety that arises when not understanding what might be the cause of a particular health concern. So clarity is about providing answers. It's about making sure that the identity is easily understood. It's consistent, it's simple and transparent. And then clarity kind of brings this idea of trustworthiness and honesty, which is super important when it comes to reaching out for your healthcare and having a relationship, even if it's over the phone, and signing up for that, and believing in it in a way. So we looked at what does clarity look like visually, with this kind of design inspiration, gridded set of images that kind of showed different ways that you can use both typography and form and color. Although all our logos at this point were in black and white, but this will come back later. And we did 2 mood boards for this one to really, this one seeming to be a little more visual. So here we have the idea of how clarity can make itself clear, the idea of healthcare, the idea of family, the idea of communicating by phone, and actually spelling out the name fully in this version. Like being clear about who they are in a very specific way. And these 2 versions, which are slightly different, that try to say as much as possible within this kind of like one letter form, where how do you interpret what a family looks like, and what are the key messages? Is it health? Is it the country? And then our last concept was confident. And a confident is like someone you trust. It's like kind of like personifying the brand into having this relationship with someone who you can share advice with, someone who can guide you and who's caring and protective and makes you feel empowered. And confident has your best interest at heart. So it's kind of a strong idea, confident. And so looking at what the idea of a confident looks like in existing graphic languages, whether they're brands or whether they're just simple iconic expressions. How does line and form in a small basic way express that idea? And then utilizing that, bringing in some emotion with the heart symbol, and creating the second idea of confident, being a community builder and being something that the family relies on, and that utilizes technology in this smart way. And then to create this kind of overview of the designs on a single page, which I think will be good for you guys to do for this next week, so that the conversation can then the presentation can end here and the conversation for which direction to go in can begin. All right, so with that in mind, let's keep moving forward with our independent project. The logo design is kind of the theme of this weekend, and for the presentation next week, we will be focusing on creating your brand identity. This means that your brand concept, strategy, and plan should be worked out. You should be finalizing that now, and you should have a vision for what your new brand is and have that be defined and clear. So to design your brand identity, we will start with creating logo concepts to consider as the main message tool. Create 3 concepts for your logo based on your strategy. Create a text page and mood board that defines your concept and creates a view of the look and feel of your logo. And I basically want you to create 2 to 3 concepts that you can sort of have support with text and with visuals. And then within each of those 2 to 3 concepts, have 2 to 3 logo design proposals, similar to what I just showed, like a concept, a description of that concept, visual inspiration research that you show, and then utilizing that concept and that research to guide you towards how to create your logo, and then doing that 2 or 3 times for each, 2 or 3 concepts, 2 or 3 versions per concept. Okay, so we can talk more about this tomorrow when we meet. And here's the schedule. It's the same as last week. And it'll be just 10 minutes, not 20, as much as that would be nice to have 20 with each of you. It's 10 on a single day. And just be ready to kind of dive in and start talking about this. If there's anything you want to share with me in advance to help keep the time efficient, send me an email or send me a Slack message. And I'll see you tomorrow and look forward to our next conversation as we move our independent project forward.